You're listening to the Sports Brothers podcast by Sam and Brian Dostal. Everything sports, all the time.
Welcome back, everybody. It's an exciting time for all, not because your schooling is done, not because the summer's here, but because the Sports Brothers podcast is back.
Woohoo!
I'm Brian Dostler. My brother Sam Dostler. We're 4 years apart, brothers from Plainville, Connecticut.
That's a great welcome back by me. Woohoo!
Yeah, it was. So we're going to bring a lot of high energy to you this entire summer. It's going to be a little difficult to do a dual podcast because you're taking a job, or you did take a job with the Connecticut Tigers.
I did, yeah. Play-by-play for the Connecticut Tigers down in Norwich, Connecticut, the New York Penn League team. So hopefully we can jam a few in the upcoming weeks before that season gets underway. We're going to try to figure out a way to be able to record them while I'm off on the road. So hopefully we can keep this exciting show coming your way.
Very
Brian
exciting.
stressed energy, so I'm trying to bring the energy, get things going here.
Yeah, I actually just put up a podcast that I did on Monday. It was just myself, and it's about a half hour long, and it's about the Clippers and the Rockets. And that was actually, when I finished that podcast, that's when the whole Deflategate stuff came out with the suspension. We'll talk about Tom Brady and our thoughts on that. We'll also be talking the NBA playoffs, our reactions and predictions for all the 4 conference semifinal games are going on. Brian's Confession Corner. Now, if you haven't listened to the podcast I just put up, it's a new segment that I'm going to put on. It's basically a segment of the show where I'm going to rant about something. So looking forward to that. And it'll be quick hits. Sam and I will give our early season surprises and disappointment, one from the American League and one from the National League. And can American Pharoah win the Preakness Stakes this weekend in Maryland? Then to end the show, Sam, I won it last year. You're looking for redemption. Stump the bro.
I'm going to make a confession right now. This is going to be a Sam's confession early in the show.
All right.
Well, Brian was late. He was supposed to do some work for the Rockets tonight.
Yep.
I was off at work with the Tigers.
Yep.
And at about 4:30, 4:45, I found out we were doing a show, came home, made him dinner.
Okay.
And now my reward is I'm not ready with the Stump the Bro question yet. So
to be fair, though, in the past last year, there was many times where you would get a Stump the Bro question during the show.
there would be, but
So I think you've been under this stress of a situation before.
yeah, but I was trying to kick the year. I wanted to kick the year off on a good note.
Well, hey, you still had time.
Well,
You could have said, hold on, let's wait before we stop
Jimmy
recording.
was on Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah, you got distracted, right. All right, well, let's start with the NBA playoffs, Sam. Last night, the Hawks, they took a 3-2 series lead. And, Sam, have we bought into these Atlanta Hawks? Because they didn't play an Atlanta Hawks game last night. Normally, they're known for shooting the 3. They average 10 a game. They only hit 5. Normally, they only have 13 turnovers. Yesterday, they had 23. And yet, they still got the win in Atlanta.
Yeah, how can you not buy into them? You look at them, and isn't it what it's all about in the playoffs, Brian, is finding a way to get a win. They didn't play their best game last night, but they were able to come back on their home floor and get the win they needed to take back home court advantage and to give themselves a couple chances to wrap things up. They fought from behind. Paul Pierce hit the three-pointer in the corner, and he's just been knocking down big shot after big shot in the series. He missed the one in Game 4 at Washington late, but it was a good look. But Atlanta's doing what they have to do.
Now,
and you're not going to play your best game every night.
Yep. And we apologize for the audio. Every time you move the microphone, it's like a stuttering sound, or you can hear it, you can pick it up. So if you can try to not move the microphone, that'd be good for the audience, as you're standing there or sitting there trying to sit there.
How
perfectly.
do I maneuver the computer then?
I'm just saying. I mean, you did all last year. I'm just telling the audience what it is.
Did it click last year too?
Yeah.
Oh.
It doesn't click. You'll hear it after. All right. So let me ask you this, Sam. On the last play of the game, was it the Wizards' failure to box out the Hawks, or was it more just Al Horford making a big-time play and a big-time moment with an offensive rebound and the putback layup?
Yeah, I think it was Al Horford making a play, especially in those late-game situations. How often do you see a block out? At every level, you see
it's always the second
it's
shot
just
that
a mad
beats you.
scramble for the basketball at that point. And Nene, seemingly had it, but he didn't really have great balance. And Horford just ripped it away. He crashed the boards hard, and the lane opened up for him once he got the ball, and he was able to lay it in. It was just a good second effort play by Al Horford.
And actually on that play, Horford was supposed to set the screen for Dennis Schroeder, but he ended up going to the basket early enough, and Millsap was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to be there for the offensive rebound.
Well, in one of those situations,
but again,
it's
it was
everybody
a huge.
crashing.
It was a huge. I mean, that's what Hartford said in the post-game interview on TNT. But he had a wide open lane. I mean, Nene and Pierce, their backs were towards him, and he just made a heck of a play off a block by John Wall. And speaking of John Wall, Sam, this is a player.
Before we get into Wall,
okay.
you mentioned Schroeder.
Yep.
I didn't watch much Atlanta Hawk basketball during the regular season. They're not on all that much, but I've been so impressed with him this postseason. Watching him play, just really has good command of the floor, handles the ball well, able to finish through traffic. Just a rookie too. He's going to be fun to watch for a long time to come. Atlanta got a really good one with him.
And I was mentioning John Wall. We know that he had the 5 fractures in his right hand. He plays in this critical Game 5. He didn't play all that horribly with the 15 points, 7 assists. He did have 6 turnovers, but he was one that had the block with his right hand on Schroeder, but his efforts just weren't good enough last night.
Well, and he also, moments before that, the loose ball, he dove on the ground, called the timeout that eventually led to the Paul Pierce three-pointer. And he grabbed that with his injured hand. And it's one of those situations where Wall isn't going to be what he's capable of being, but having him on the floor just gives you that boost. Instead, it means, and Ramon Sessions, he's had a solid NBA career, but he's not John Wall. So instead of having Sessions on the floor at the end of the game, you have John Wall, and even not at 100%, John Wall is an improvement over Sessions, and he makes the opposing team think about things a little bit more.
How about Washington yesterday? Not a good 20 minutes or so. You had Paul Pierce, he hit the long 2, but then we just mentioned the Horford putback, and then the Capitals get bounced in Game 7. So really, that's a tough situation for Washington fans.
It was a frantic flip last night between the two games, and I know we're not going to get into the NHL playoffs too much, but the 5th time that the Washington Capitals have blown a 3-1 lead now.
That's not good.
No.
That's not good.
No. And Alex Ovechkin taking a lot of slack today, a lot of heat. But he scored early, and he played really well last night.
But my question, and he's been there for all 5, right? For all the Game 7s. To me, if you're a leader, if you're
but hockey's different.
Still.
Basketball, you can give the ball to a LeBron James, a Steph Curry, whoever it may be, pound it into the post to Tim Duncan, Blake Griffin, and they can just take over a game going one-on-one or whatever the situation is. But hockey, it's so much different. You can't really you can never isolate a guy.
To me, I understand that, but to me, 5 times, if you can't figure it out, I mean, 3-1, Sam. That's 3 straight wins against you in the playoffs.
Yeah, but
you can't let that happen.
All those games were so close. They were all 1-goal games. It's not as if they got blown out. And Game 5 in New York, they were up with less than a minute and a half. Washington was, so that's the one where you say they should have won that game. They should have put the series away in the 5th game. But it's just been such a close series that it's not like Washington lost 6-2 for 3 straight games.
All right, now back to the Wizards and the Hawks. Can the Hawks close the series out tomorrow in Washington, Sam?
I think it's going to be tough. This Washington team is very good, and you'd have to figure, wouldn't you agree, John Wall will probably be better now that he knows what he's working with as far as his capabilities.
His limitations as well.
And his limitations. So you'd have to think he has a better idea of what he can do, and that'll help Washington. And they've been a pretty good home team at home in the postseason. I know they lost Game 4 there at home, but I think this Washington team will push Atlanta probably to a Game 7 because they're a talented team.
Well, Sam, what's at stake here? The Hawks, they have not made a conference finals trip since 1970 when they're led by Lou Hudson and Pete Maravich. And the Wizards, they've not been in the conference finals since 1979 when they were the Washington Bullets.
Did you hear Shaq call them the Bullets by accident?
Yeah. So that was back at the time when movie tickets were $1.25. So it's been a while for both those teams. But I think the Wizards will win Game 6 and they will win Game 7. Now, the reason why I think they'll win this series, in due in part because, I'm not sure if I told you the same, but before this playoffs even started, I said with the Wizards, they're going to beat the Hawks. I even put them bypass right by the Raptors and just said they're going to beat they're going to beat the Hawks. So I think they'll come out on top in that series. Grizzlies and Golden State. Now, Sam, this is a series that it's kind of tough to get a feel for because there really hasn't been any close games. The closest game was a 7-point victory by Golden State. It's really been back and forth because it's been a blowout win by either team.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess it's in a way it's something that you would expect because Memphis hangs their hat on their defense, and when their defense has been strong, and has given this Golden State team some difficulties, that's when Memphis has been able to win the games. On the other side, when Golden State's been able to get that offense going, Memphis just can't keep up with them scoring-wise. Mike Conley came back in Game 2 and was a huge lift to them in that second game, but he's just not the Mike Conley that he's fully capable of being because of the facial injuries. And I think he might be one of the, if not the most underrated player in the NBA. Definitely a top 5 underrated player. He's so important for that team, so good. And then you got a scoring addition when you grab Jeff Green. Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph are nice guys down low, but they just don't have that one scorer right now, especially with the way Conley has been injured and not at 100%. You don't have that one scorer who can really take the team and put them on the back when they need it. On the flip side, we all know not only can Golden State defend, but when they get rolling, they can really shoot the ball.
And to mention the perimeter defense, we know Grizzlies are known for their defense. Tony Allen did not play in yesterday's game.
Right.
And I think that was a huge reason why Golden State was able to get 14 three-pointers off.
And he was injured coming into the beginning of the playoffs, so he's another guy who's been dealing with an injury. Mike Conley had another injury before the postseason even started. There were some questions about him. He was battling through that before he got the facial injury. So this is a Memphis team that, when healthy, they're excellent. They were in that 2 spot for, 75% of the season?
Yeah.
Or maybe even more. They were sitting in the 2 spot, and for a long time it looked like this would be the Western Conference final. But you look forward to Game 7 tomorrow night, Brian, and on Friday night, and you'd have to think Memphis. Well, I don't think they're going to get blown out, and I think to go in and if Golden State were to be able to take a second game at the Grindhouse would be extremely impressive.
Very, very impressive. So
especially a closeout game.
Yeah. Shout out to Damon Gray. He just texted me and said, make sure that you're close to like the microphone when I'm talking. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like post-game interviews? I'm assuming he's talking about something from Eastern. He goes, no, for your podcast. So he's listening to the podcast that I just posted about 20 minutes ago or so. He is subscribed to the Sports Brothers.
Your face isn't that close to the mic.
No, well, I had it on the wrong setting last time.
How do you always do that? You should tape a reminder.
I'll remember from now on.
Yeah, okay.
I will. I promise. So thanks to Damon for listening. All right, Rockets versus Clippers. Now, Sam, I thought that the Rockets were done. They were out. They were already packed away and looking forward to 2016 because they looked awful in game 4.
Just Game 4?
Well, especially Game 4. You had Dwight Howard getting ejected, 18 turnovers. I mean, the Rockets throwing the ball all over the place. It seemed like chemistry was nowhere. Kevin McHale had no control over his team, and somehow, someway, they come back at home. They get a much-needed victory, and they force a Game 6 tonight.
Well, they're professionals. James Harden could have been the MVP this year. Dwight Howard has had a pretty good postseason. They're just professionals, and they finished at the 2 seed in the West, which is no small task.
Yeah, no, I know.
You weren't listening.
Sorry, Damon texted me. I'm sorry. All right. But with the home crowd, Dwight Howard, he gets a double-double. They only have 11 turnovers and Harden 26 points. Game 6 tonight, but I got Clippers winning this one tonight, and I think they have to.
I think they definitely, especially just the players don't listen to everything that the media says, but the media, everybody had the Clippers basically almost to the NBA Finals after their back-to-back wins to get them up 3-1 at home.
Yeah.
But that's kind of been the narrative all series long. Los Angeles came out in Game 1 and took it to Houston pretty good, 117-101. And there were people that were saying, the Clippers, they're just going to sweep through this series. Maybe Houston will steal a game. The narrative changed after Game 2. Then it went back to the script we started with after Games 3 and 4. But we're still sitting here, Game number 6, where really anything can happen. You got a guy like James Harden who can go off. Of course, the Rockets are hurt by Patrick Beverly not playing in the postseason.
Dante Moniunas as well.
Chandler Parsons.
Yep.
Excuse me, Parsons isn't with Houston anymore. That was really dumb.
Dante Moniunas, the 7-footer, can really stretch the floor, a lefty that can shoot the ball.
I can't believe I said Chandler Parsons.
They added Trevor Ariza, just so you know.
I know.
Just in, Trevor Ariza on the Houston Rockets.
95 games later.
Yeah. Anyways, so the last series we'll talk about, Cavaliers Bulls. So in the last 2 games, the Bulls have not had Paul Gasol. They went 0-2. He is playing tonight in Game 6.
Bulls almost stole the
did.
game in Cleveland the other night.
Yep.
Because I flipped it off and then flipped it back as I was flipping between games, and all of a sudden it was a 2-point game. And I think Paul Gasol's a difference maker for this team because, Cleveland has Mozgov, but Gasol's certainly the most talented big in this series.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And a lot of people wrote Chicago off after the loss in game number 4 when LeBron James hit the buzzer beater. Well, the near buzzer. It was a buzzer beater.
Yep.
The buzzer beater, but the Chicago team, they find ways to win games, and I think they send this thing back to Cleveland for game number 7. And what are your thoughts on the whole Tom Thibodeau situation? It's very interesting to me that you have this guy who has been an extremely successful coach for the Chicago franchise. Yeah, they've never made it to a finals. They've had some earlier exits in the postseason, but that's a lot to do with the fact that Derrick Rose has been hurt. And it just seems like he's a dead man walking out there. Kevin McHale, too, seems that way.
The Bulls are just tired of underachieving, I think, assumingly. I understand that.
It's hard to say you're underachieving when the guy that you've built your team around has been hurt so much.
I think it's also the generation and how people think. You need to win now. I mean, this is a franchise that had Michael Jordan and won 6 NBA titles with him. And this is a city that is just waiting and waiting. Understand Derrick Rose has been hurt. Paul Gasol's been hurt this series. But, Chicago, they want that Larry O'Brien trophy. And they're not getting it.
They do, but first off, it's not that easy to win.
I understand that.
And there's not many times where you get a coach the caliber of Thibodeau. And one of the big knocks against Tom Thibodeau is he places young guys so much. You look at Tim Duncan played nearly 40 minutes per game. Michael Jordan played a lot when they were younger, Tim Duncan.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan played a ton of minutes when he was younger. These are young guys. They should be able to go out there and play. Jimmy Butler is young. Derrick Rose, what was the reason to think that something like this whole injury thing was going to happen prior to anything happening? And it's a head scratcher to me. One of the names I heard, I was listening to Frank Iola from ESPN. He was on the radio today, and I guess the name that's hot in Chicago is Fred Hoiberg, the Iowa State coach.
Yeah.
But would he want to take? He just had his second heart operation. You travel a dozen times for college basketball.
How old is Fred Hoiberg? He's got to be 40, 42, around there. I mean,
him and Kevin Ollie are about the same age, somewhere in the young 40s.
He's already had 2 heart procedures. That's not healthy. That's scary. All right. So that's going to do it for the NBA playoffs for today. As right now, Cavs and Bulls are going on right now, and Rockets Clippers will be going on later tonight. Now, Sam, let's move over to footballs. It's sad that this is a topic, but deflated footballs, Tom Brady, on Monday, May 11th, the golden boy, the golden child, the untouchable, the Mr. Perfect Tom Brady was suspended by the National Football League for 4 games in his alleged part of Deflategate. Your thoughts?
Well, when it came out, everybody seemed to think that the suspension was right. And now people, as they've looked at it, seem to be backtracking. He did file his appeal today, and he's poked numerous holes in the report. And I just have a lot of trouble with the more than probable, more than likely had something.
Same here. I agree.
It seems like he maybe had something to do with it, but I need to see he did it. And I don't what's this with the NFL, because Tom Brady wasn't cooperative, giving him extra games. I mean,
not giving up his cell phone.
Yeah, that's like a parent when the little kid
gets in trouble for something.
Won't give back the shovel that mom's trying to use to plant flowers, and he ends up in the corner.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems a little childish for me, in my opinion, that the NFL is doing this. And you look at other suspensions throughout the years, and for deflating footballs, the Colts footballs, some of them were underinflated as well.
But Sam, they're ruining the integrity of the game. They're cheating. It's the whole idea of it.
I know, but I think the suspension's going to get. It's getting. He's appealing, obviously, and I think it's going to get reduced. I
do too.
I think at the end of the day, the NFL is going to come out looking worse than Tom Brady does.
No, I agree. I mean, look what they've done so far. I mean, with their track record, and at first you give Tom Brady for deflating footballs for 4 games, but originally you give Ray Rice for 2 games. Had that video not come out, Ray Rice could be on a football team.
Well, Ray Rice would probably still be on the Baltimore Ravens.
Exactly. So it's sad when you compare those two things. I mean, you compare this. A lot of people are comparing this with Bounty, because you look at, and I'm okay with 4 games personally. Like, if you're going to suspend him, I think 1 it's like a slap in the wrist and like it's barely anything. 4 games I think says something, but $1 million fine, that's $500,000 more than Bountygate, and a loss of next year's first-round draft pick and the 4th round 2017. To me, I think that's some personal issues between Roger Goodell and Robert Kraft. Now, Kraft had a lot to do with the NFL lockout, and those two clashed heads a lot. I mean, the Patriots are one of the most hated franchises in all of football.
All reports say that Kraft and Goodell get along pretty well.
That's not what I've been hearing.
Guess we're not listening to the same thing.
I've read numerous articles that they don't get along very well.
Well, maybe that I've heard in the past that they have.
In the past, but now yes, exactly. In the last 3, 4, 5 years, they haven't gotten really along, because it started with the lockout in 2011, because Jeff Saturday said, had it not been for Robert Kraft, we may not have a season right now. I mean, he said that Robert Kraft was the man that pulled them through this, and of course his arch enemy in that situation would be Roger Goodell, the commissioner.
And you to move off those two a little bit, we were briefly touched upon the cell phones and the whole Brady and not giving up his cell phone. I heard a good point today on the radio about the fact that, Brady didn't agree to give up his cell phone, but all the conversations that Brady would have had with these two guys,
with the ball boys, would have showed up on their phones.
Would have been on those phones.
Yeah.
So it's something that I didn't think of, but it's so obvious at the same time, because
the texts are going to be the same thing.
And with the way phones are now, you can save conversations for, forever.
5 years ago.
With the phones we have, we can keep 300 text messages or whatever it is, and then we have to delete them. But with those iPhones, whatever smartphone it is, you can they're just there. You can delete them, but
but you could leave them there forever.
Forever, for as long as you want, until your gigs fill up. But
all right. So, will Tom Brady be the starting quarterback week 1 for the New England Patriots?
I don't know if it'll be week 1, but it certainly will. He's going to start a game before their bye week in week 4.
Okay, so and just quickly to wrap this up, when the 4-game suspension came out, there was some Jets fans that went on Twitter and said, "Oh, we're gonna win the division now and everything, blah blah blah." Like they're all excited for it.
Well, first
And
off, if anyone's going to win it, it's probably Miami
they could, yeah,
or Buffalo. Certainly not
Buffalo.
the Jets.
So, but they're saying, and here's what I was saying: worst case scenario, if Brady is suspended for 4 games, the Patriots are gonna go 2-2. They got home versus Steelers without Le'Veon Bell in the opener. There's gonna be a lot of motion for the home opener. Then they're at Buffalo, which could be a loss. Then they're versus Jacksonville and at Dallas. Bye week, or excuse me, it's bye week, then at Dallas. But just imagine though, if Sam Fia is suspended for 4 games, his first game would be against the Indianapolis Colts. Isn't it funny how things work out like that?
It is. And you talk about the Patriots are very high on the guy that got backing him up, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
They really like him. They like what he's been able to do. And I think one of the keys is the fact that right as of now, Tom Brady, who I'm looking at on the poster as I look up, but one of the keys is the fact that what are we in May?
Yep.
The opener's not till
Oh,
September.
Yeah. No, I've said that as well.
Garoppolo has from now until that opener in the beginning of September to get himself ready. And who's better? Tom Brady got hurt week 1 the year Matt Castle stepped in.
And they went 10-6 that year.
No, they went 11-5 and
11-5.
missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
But still went 11-5 with Matt Castle. And we've seen the type of quarterback Matt Castle. He had a decent little run after leaving New England with Kansas City for a year or two. But overall, nothing spectacular. So with all this time to prepare, Garoppolo's had a year in the system now. I think they're not going to be Tom Brady level, but they're going to be fine.
All right, Sam, MLB quick hits. One AL team that you are impressed with and disappointed. I'll start first. My AL surprise this year thus far through May, what's today? May 14th. So about a little over a month of the regular season. It's the New York Yankees. 21-14, 2 games up in the AL East, and it starts with the back end of that bullpen. It starts with Dylan Betances and Andrew Miller. Both those guys, they've thrown a combined 38 or 36 and 2/3 scoreless innings. Either have yet to give up a run. Betances is 4-0. Andrew Miller 13 out of 13 in save opportunities. When you have a bullpen this good like the Yankees do, your starting pitchers don't have to go that long in a game. When you know that 6th inning on or 7th inning on, it's shutdown mode with that bullpen.
And not to mention the offense has been pretty good as well. Yeah. Alex Rodriguez is faring pretty well, hitting with power. I think more power than a lot of people thought. Mark Teixeira is swinging a pretty good bat. Jacoby Ellsbury has been fantastic. Chris Young has been pretty good for them. And they've just been playing pretty good baseball. My surprise is I was going to go one of two ways. If you said my team, I was going to go with the Yankees. Yep. I think you know where I'm going with this. The Houston Astros, just off to a really good start this year, leading the way by 4 games in that AL West over Los Angeles, who right now could be one of the disappointments. But Houston, just a really good young team. George Springer, he missed some time with concussions, but he's recently back. Altuve at second base is just really good, hits for a really good average. And, they really don't have anyone that jumps off the page at you. There's no big names, at least not yet, on this team, but they're winning games. And they're a team they have a lot of young players, and I don't know if you remember it last summer, Sports Illustrated did an article about them,
yep.
World Series champs in 2018 or whatever it was. And the last time they did that was Kansas City. And I don't remember what year they said Kansas City, but it was somewhere around the time frame where Kansas City made it to the World Series.
I think they said Kansas City was going to make it this season.
Was it this season?
It was this season, yeah.
And they did it last year with Houston. And Houston, it was a couple years down the line. And who knows? Houston could completely fall off and be a 500 team at the end of the season. But to be where they are now, they're certainly ahead of schedule, and it has to have people in that Houston front office, despite the fact the number 1 overall draft pick that they took last year didn't sign with them. They got to be happy with the way things are going.
By the way, George Springer was at our house earlier today.
He was at our house?
Yep. Chad Wells. He's wearing George Springer jersey when we were playing football earlier. All right, AL disappointment. I'm going to go AL Central and the Cleveland Indians. Now, Sam, this was a kind of a dark horse, but some people thought that this Indians ball club could make it.
Sports Illustrated, I think.
Okay, there you go. Could make a World Series run, or at least a playoff run. They were right. They kind of made a late push last season, but couldn't come.
Fighting Franconas.
The Fighting Franconas. There you go. This year, again, 12-21, 9 games back in the AL Central. They're not getting a lot of timely hitting. Their pitching hasn't been that good. Corey Kluber, minus the start from yesterday, he's really not been good at all. But let's talk about the start from yesterday, Sam. A no-hitter through the first 6 2/3 innings against the Cardinals, and 18 strikeouts for Mr. Kluber.
It's not bad.
Not bad at all. That's wiffle ball stats right there.
Striking a couple guys out, I think.
Yeah. So that's my AL disappointment. Yours?
I'm going to stay in that same division, and I'm going to go with the Chicago White Sox. They made a lot of splashy signings in the offseason. Jeff Samardzija, he hasn't been great. They brought in David Robertson.
Adam LaRoche.
They did a lot of different things to their team, and you would have thought that they would be better than what they are, but they just haven't been able to get things going. Samardzija, so far this year, just 2-2 with an ERA at 4.8. Chris Sale, his ERA is up over 5. John Danks, who's been a pretty good pitcher in the big leagues for a while now, his ERA is over 5. And it just hasn't gone well for them. And I really the only guy that's been good for them, the guy that they brought over, David Robertson, and 7 saves, a 1.2 ERA. And the scary thing about Robertson is he's tied for the team lead in wins with 3. That's not what you want out of the guy who's supposed to be your closer, or who is your closer. And their ERA leader out of starters is Jose Quintana, 4.39.
Not good.
No, not good at all. Jose Abreu's off to another nice start in his second year, but the Chicago team right now is really underachieving.
NL surprise maybe, yes, no, but I'm going to go with the Chicago Cubs. I think it's just nice to see them playing well right now. They're second in the NL Central currently. They just swept the Mets today, a 4-game series at Wrigley Field. John Lester, we know, Sam, as Red Sox fans, he never really got off to a good April start. In April, went 0-2, a 6.23 ERA.
He got better as that month went on, though.
Yep, and in May, in his first 3 starts, he's perfect at 3-0, a 1.80 ERA. Anthony Rizzo, another former Red Sox prospect, hitting .336, 7 home runs and 20 RBIs. I would just love to see the Cubs make a postseason run, though.
Yeah, and I'm going to go along the similar line as you. You got St. Louis up the top again, which is no surprise. Los Angeles, no surprise. San Diego, after all the moves they made, not a surprise. They're above 500. But the Mets, they had the best record in baseball for a little while. They're struggling right now with some injuries, but I think it's always a surprise when you see the Mets up at the top there. At the top of the division. The pitching's been fantastic. They brought up the other kid, Noah Syndergaard, the other day. And that pitching's going to be there for them. Now the question is, when David Wright comes back, what can he give you offensively? If he can give you a pretty good bat, it's going to help things out. And then what do they do? This is the big question for them, I think, when Travis d'Arnaud is healthy again. Because they got the kid Kevin Plawecki catching right now, and he's swinging a fairly decent bat. But d'Arnaud was arguably their best hitter on that team when he went down with the broken hand, the broken knuckle.
NL disappointment. You look confused.
I might be confusing catcher injuries here.
All right, so you looked that up. But NL disappointment. Sam, I'm going to go Milwaukee Brewers. Now, this might be a surprise to some people, 12-23. But, Sam, this was a team last year. On August 25th, they had a game-and-a-half lead over the St. Louis Cardinals.
Off to such a great start.
Great start. They had the best record in baseball for a lot of the year last season. But since August 25th of 2014, they won a 9-game losing streak, including 13 out of 14. They went 9-22 in September last season. And since August 25th, Sam, get this, they are 23-53.
It's not good, is it?
That's not good. And those numbers, rightfully so, they got Ron Reineke fired the manager from the Brewers. Craig Counsell, the new manager. But things just went southward. I mean, you look on paper, Carlos Gomez, Ryan Braun, Giovanni Gallardo, the shortstop,
Well,
Segura.
Gallardo's not there anymore. He's down.
That's right.
He's
But
with
last year
yeah.
he was there.
Well, he hasn't been spectacular. The last few years he hasn't been anything special. But no, you're right. And they got off to such a great start, and it's just they haven't been able to get things going. Great start last year, but they haven't been able to get things going. And d'Arnaud, it was his pinky finger. I was both the injuries happened at pretty much the same time. The Ryan Hannigan injury for the Red Sox when he got hit in the knuckle. My disappointment in the National League is, and I don't know that I'm really surprised, but just any time, and it is an even year, or an odd year, I should say. The San Francisco Giants, not off to a great start this year after the World Series last year. Just 17-17, 5.5 games out of first place. Yes, they lost Pablo Sandoval, but most of that team is back. But
Hunter Pence is on the DL. Remember that
exactly. Hunter Pence on the DL. But you look at that pitching, and I was surprised and Tim Lincecum is pitching very well so far this year. But Madison Bumgarner hasn't been spectacular. He hasn't been terrible, but he certainly hasn't been the Bumgarner we saw in the postseason. And then you're running out guys, Tim Hudson, Jake Peavy's part of that rotation, and both those guys, when they're 2/5 of your rotation, they're up there in age. I was surprised Peavy didn't really, but Hudson hung in there last year. Matt Cain out again. I think they're feeling the effects of that. So they're my NL disappointment right now.
All right, now let's move over the last two segments, two quickest ones, but let's start with the Preakness. Sam, I'll ask you, will American Pharoah win the Preakness and get the second leg of the Triple Crown?
Well, he's the favorite, 4-5 on the odds. In a tough position, though, coming off that first post, which is always tough no matter what race you're in. But I think an advantage for him is there's only 8 horses in the race this year. It's the smallest field since 2000 when the field was also 8. So that's going to help him. It is going to be tough coming out of gate number 1. I don't know if you heard it, mini controversy today. Apparently they're investigating whether or not Victor Espinoza, the jockey for American Pharoah, whipped him too many times or something. I guess they're reviewing it.
He whipped him too many times.
Yeah.
There's a rule about that.
I don't know. Apparently.
Is that a PETA thing or is that a...
No, I think this is real.
Oh, this is actually a real thing.
I think this is the horse organization.
He whipped his horse too many times.
Yeah, that's...
Well,
I don't know.
I don't think he's going to get it. You mentioned he's in the first post. He is a favorite, but no horse has won it since in post number 1 since 1992. And it's a tough angle there.
Yeah, it is. It's really
you're buried down there. I mean, you're essentially the last one down there. You got to get off to a good start because you got to get ahead of the crop and really stay there because it's tough to make moves and try to get on the outer half when you're so far inside.
Yeah, and he made his run. American Pharoah did on the outside in that race. He came from way out.
Yeah.
I think it was the 18th post is where he came from. And you also have to remember the horses that finished right behind him are both also in this race. Sometimes you get to the Preakness and not all the horses are there, and they might not run till the Belmonts. But Dortmund, another Bob Baffert trained horse, is right next to American Pharoah in that 2 post. So Bob Baffert has his horses starting 1-2 in the gates, and then Firing Line with Gary Stevens on the back. Firing Line finished second. He's coming out of that 8 gate. So the horses that finished 1, 2, and 3 in the Kentucky Derby are all going to be in the race on Saturday, 6:14 post time. And that, like I said, that's not something you always see. Sometimes you'll see the horses take a break off if they don't win the Kentucky Derby and then not come back to the Belmont.
Wow, I was not expecting that type of analysis. That was good.
I get into these 3. Well, I get into at least 2 races, and then
it's a third maybe.
If like last year with California Chrome, he was going for the Triple Crown, so I was all about the Belmont. If American Pharoah wins, I'll be all about the Belmont. If he doesn't, if I watch it, great. If not,
whatever.
I'll never forget though. Instead of story time with Dan, story time with Sam here.
Oh God.
State championship game in 2008. Big Brown was going for the Triple Crown
Yep.
that year, and the game was at 7:00, and the horse race is 6:15, whatever it is. And I'll never forget standing where we were kneeling. We'd already taken infield, outfield, and we're kneeling there watching Holy Cross take infield, outfield. And they come over the PA system, and they go, Big Brown. They made an announcement about the Belmont, and they're like, Big Brown didn't win. And I'm like, oh, man. And I don't know if people looked at me or what, but I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, he didn't win. As I'm getting ready for a state championship baseball game, but I'll never forget that. I can still hear the PA saying that Big Brown didn't win.
You didn't ask Freeman to go late to the game to watch the Belmont, Sam?
No, I did get questioned that it was really hot that day, if you remember. And you know how baseball players with superstitions.
Yep.
The first playoff game, I had worn. It was kind of chilly, and I had worn that fleece pullover thing. And I'd have to wear it to every game after that. It was like 90 degrees and humid before the state championship game. Everybody's like, what are you doing? I was just like... And then you tell them, and they're like, okay, all right, you're fine. Right. Keep doing it.
Well, you struck out. So now it's time for Stump the Bro.
It's time to Stump the Bro.
All right, Sam, it's time to Stump the Bro. Hope you liked the music we got there.
Just ask the question.
It's from the voice from Sam Dassler. All right, you always want to hurry this up.
I like to hear the question.
Oh, you're so excited. You just can't wait. All right, so.
Should I go for a run after this?
You already asked me. Oh, you asked me that during the stuff that we didn't put in here.
Should I go? It's a nice night out. I think
it is. I mean, I'm planning on watching basketball all night.
Me too. It's almost bedtime, actually.
It's almost bedtime. It's
8:42. I got like 2 hours.
I got till after the Golden State or the Clippers game.
You're staying up till that one? Did I do anything when you came in last night?
Dude, the light was on.
You went back downstairs.
Oh, no.
Winner. For those of you who don't know what I'm referring to, I seem to always jump or yell or do something when Brian walks in to the room at night.
Yeah, that could be a whole podcast on itself on those adventures.
I don't remember them, so it'd be a very one-sided
It'd be very
podcast.
Funny. All right, so Sam, my Stump the Bro question to you. Bryce Harper, just a couple days ago, he has hit a lot of home runs recently. So who was the youngest player to hit 5 home runs in 2 games before Bryce Harper did earlier this week? Your choices are Sammy Sosa, Miguel Cabrera, or Mark McGwire?
Miguel Cabrera.
Nope. Mark McGwire did it when he was 23 years young in 1987. By the way, Bryce Harper leading the National League in both home runs and RBIs. And finally, it seems like living up to his potential.
And, it was all of a sudden, too, because he got off to – he hit a home run on opening day.
He hit 2 on opening day.
You're right,
That's
2 on opening day.
That's what he always does.
But for much of that first month of the season, he was kind of the same offensive player he had been.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, now we'll see if he can sustain it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, if he can, well, he's not going to sustain what he just did. But he played really well in the postseason last year. He had a very good postseason. All right, you already talked about it briefly. Corey Kluber had 18 strikeouts the other night for the Cleveland Indians. You know this one, don't you?
Yeah, it's Ben Sheets.
You saw it when you went through the MLB trivia.
Yep.
So does that count?
That's why I don't pick the first one, because that's the top one.
Well, yeah, but it's a good question. And it was, oh, man.
I couldn't keep the straight face.
All
right, well, I'll do a plug. You can listen to all our podcasts off our website, thesportsbrothersblog.wordpress.com. And, folks, I promise myself, part of my podcast resolution to get some articles out there for you. So, assuming that the Clippers win tonight, I'm going to get an article out there ASAP, maybe even by tomorrow. That'd be best. It depends how disciplined I am with the work. But talk about the surgence of the Clippers and Austin Rivers. Now, Austin Rivers is a player that I disagree with coming out of college after his freshman year. Didn't think he would pan out all that much. I mean, still, it's only a couple games with the Clippers, but he has played really well in this series against the Rockets, so look forward to that article in the next coming days or so. And Sam mentioned that I have an internship with the New Britain Rockcats. That is true, a production internship. I was supposed to be going tonight, but...
Bees, cats, rock.
Yeah.
Last year of that, though.
Last year, yeah. But I'm buying you time, Sam, so just focus on the question.
I don't know where to look, Brian.
Well, go on the trivia page again. I didn't look at all of them.
They're like weird questions.
I
I wish I could remember the Jason Stark question from the other day on Mike and Mike.
On Mike and Mike, he always has a good question.
It
Go
was
on
really
his go
good.
on his Twitter page.
No, it wasn't there. I looked.
All right. Well, I am doing an internship with the New Britain Rockcats, production internship with Jeff Dooley, the voice of the New Britain Rockcats on the radio on 1410. I was supposed to do it today, but the Rockcats are on a 12-game winning streak. They're a hot commodity. So CTV Sports, Sam, kicked me off my internship hours today.
Well, they do games throughout the year. It's not just because
yeah, I know. Well, I'm just saying that for dramatic effect.
make you sound more important than you are.
Yes, exactly.
Because he's been doing games without you all year long and doesn't
Well,
really
his
need
entire career,
Well,
but
Well, now that Brian Dossler's there.
hey, get what the people want. All right, do you have a question? Or are you just going to have to free ball it?
I didn't find anything. So, how many birdies did Kevin Streelman finish the Travelers Championship with last year to win
14.
in a row?
Oh, in a row.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you got to finish the question. 9. Final answer.
Wrong. 7.
Is it 8? Oh, all right. All right.
All right. Well,
Next time. What are we going to do on the podcast? I don't know. I don't have work till Wednesday, so I'll probably do one Monday or Tuesday. I will. Whether it's with you or by myself.
well, if you wait until
I'll wait till you get home from work.
6:30ish.
Like same time. Yeah, so
Tell you, it's quite the drive from Norwich back here.
yeah, how is it?
Yeah, not too great.
All right, so we'll have a podcast on Monday night. By that time, some more NBA playoff series.
What about the week? What are you doing this weekend?
Rockcats?
Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
I guess that's how a series usually works, huh?
Dummy.
It's like I've never watched a baseball game before.
You know, I had a good wrap up there, and you just killed my vibe.
You're fine. Friendly banter.
That wasn't good. How was my energy today?
It was good. How was mine?
It was good. Minus the
You were
not having a
talking really
question.
loud today.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. See, and if Nico, if you're listening at this point right now, then you're a dedicated listener. Very dedicated.
Because we're like an hour into this thing
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
we're actually 49 minutes. Well, he has like 2-hour podcasts, 3-hour podcasts sometimes.
And he goes solo a lot of the time, doesn't he?
A lot of the time, yeah.
See.
I mean, it's about his life, though. It's whatever. But I actually really do admire your personality on the radio, podcast, TV, whatever you want to call it. So I'm actually trying to emulate you and just try to be as energetic as you, because I know if I'm very monotone, very serious, then that's not going to get me anywhere.
He's a very energetic person.
He is. And a good addition to our friend group. We've talked about that. He's a good eighth.
Have you talked about that with him?
Well, yeah, no, we have. But
So this isn't going to be like a big reveal
no,
if he gets
no.
50 minutes into this podcast?
We actually don't call him the Rook anymore, really.
I heard you call him it a couple times the other night.
So not as frequently.
Question.
Yep.
Is he going to come on this podcast this year?
You know, I was.
Because
Why not?
unless we can figure out a way, you're going to be.
No, I'll see if like Mike wants to come on. If
I know,
Nico
but
wants to come
if
on.
we can't find a way, we might be.
See, with Nico though, with
But you know what it might be for the Ghoul Hangout? We'll talk about this off the air.
All right. Well, that does it for this podcast. It was the first one of the year. Hope you liked it. Please let us know if you loved it, you hated it, whatever. Tell us.
Mic drop.
Again, you just killed my vibe. Let me know if you didn't like anything that I did, that Sam did. Just really for all the podcasts that we do this summer, let us know how we did. But for now, go watch. Actually, by the time you listen to this, those games will be over. But have a great weekend, folks. We'll see you on Monday night.